Sangwoo and Bum are the one true pairing of our time. Toxic ships hold a warm place in my heart. I believe that it is with escapism we can go to the darkest fantasies that reality can never touch. The thing about Sangwoo and Bum and Killing Stalking is that if you take their relationship out of the plot, the story makes no sense. The story revolves around SangBum, their canon relationship in this comic. And as much as people want to deny that they read a boys' love comic, they're what makes Killing Stalking Killing Stalking. I think Killing Stalking is a dark romance in a lot of ways, and a romance doesn't have to be healthy. It's fiction. This is the thing about escapism. It's that you can escape to the realms that people would never go to in reality. So fantasizing about hooking up with a serial killer or even being the only one who gets close to a serial killer is a possibility in an escapist fantasy. And people might go, oh, that's dark, or that's problematic, but it doesn't really matter because art therapy is a thing. Art therapy is a way for people to cope through various art forms. Fiction and story can be part of that. Narrative therapy is also a thing. People can build their own narratives. How people see themselves and how they view fictional characters, they don't have to be the same thing. They can be separate. Fiction can be a way to explore concepts in your head and to explore the chemistry between interesting characters. In this case, it's Sangwoo and Bum. We explore their dynamics of a confident guy with privilege and wealth and a guy who's an orphan and has a bad reputation. One of the most interesting things about Sangwoo is that he had a college education, a house, a good reputation, and a healthy, beautiful body, but he still chose to murder women. And some people have compared Killing Stalking to Lady and the Beast. But I think it's better to compare it to Cinderella, because I think the fantasy of privilege, or even a sugar daddy or a prince that rescues you, is a better analogy for Killing Stalking. Sangwoo is like that Prince Charming that you fantasize about rescuing you. Of course, this is a very twisted version of that. But I think Killing Stalking was also kind of like a dark comedy, where a lot of references to different horrors, like, say, American Psycho, Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock, or Misery by Stephen King. It's not a crime to combine horror and romance. Romance itself isn't a crime. Romance is an exploration of relationships in fiction. I'd argue that romance is a genre built on unhealthy expectations. So the thing about Cinderella is that it's about the idea of a woman in poverty being saved by a rich prince. But the reality of this fantasy is that it's basically a sugar baby, sugar daddy fantasy if you were to modernize it. I believe that in many ways you can see Sangwoo and Bum as a sugar daddy, sugar baby dynamic in the most unhealthy way. Coogie found a way to comment on domestic violence and power dynamics through the Cinderella dynamic often seen in the genre of boys' love. Boys' love is a catch-all genre that's inclusive of Japanese, Chinese, and Korean comics. Some people hold the concept of love very dear to their hearts. And I agree when we're talking about reality, that if it isn't healthy, it isn't love. In fiction, though, love is a hot commodity that sells. In the case of Killing Stalking, I don't think Sangwoo or Bum were capable of healthy love. I think they loved each other as much as they both were capable of in their own dysfunctional ways. Coogie herself has said that if Bum continued to live, he would never move on from Sangwoo. Something else to consider is that at 25, an adult's personality is pretty much set. Bum was at least 28, and probably 29 at the end of the comic, while Sangwoo was probably 24 and then 25 at the end. Tragic love stories are so much fun. I love messy characters and messy relationships. Toxic relationships are even better. Of course, I'm talking about fiction. It's a shame that we live in a world where people expect disclaimers on our feelings about fiction. It feels like imagination land is under surveillance these days. And there are a lot of silly reasons to ship Sangwoo and Bum, like, say, their hair color, or the size difference, or the contrast in their personalities, and how they help each other grow as characters. Like, Sangwoo teaches Bum confidence, and Bum teaches Sangwoo to look beyond the trauma of his mother. At least for a while. I think personally, though, I started shipping them at this specific moment.